Hi and welcome to another video update for the Fire Brigade Union. This one's specific to the consultative ballot being undertaken by the union in response to an employer's proposal on pay and conditions. We're joined by General Secretary Matt Rack to answer some of the questions that have been put to us. Now Matt, we've done video updates on this before. We've sent out an awful lot of information to members, but this is in response to some questions that have been put to us. You and I were in the Grenfell Silent Walk last night. We had a good discussion with a number of firefighters that were there, and the anger was palpable. They'd read this proposal and were very concerned and indeed angry about it. Now that begs the first question: if the anger is out there, if we know that members are going to be angry about this proposal, why don't we just reject it from the Executive Council? Why run this ballot?
Well, Tom, I hope members are angry about this proposal because the proposal is insulting. But it's all very well for me saying to the employers that it's insulting, or for the Executive Council to say it's insulting. We now need our members to be involved. We're a democratic organisation. This is about their jobs, their service, their pay. So we want to consult our members. That's democracy. And we want our members very clearly to send a message to the employers and to government that our members have decided it's not acceptable. That's why we're balloting. That's why we want people to vote yes and yes in the two questions.
Well, Matt, as you said, there are two questions. Now, question number one refers to what we've called open-ended contracts. I won't use some of the language that some of the crews last night used in regard to this, but clearly a lot of anger. Just tell us why we are so opposed to these open-ended contracts.
Well, if members read the employer's proposal, I think they will get very angry very quickly. There are, for example, lists of work activities. It's important to remember they're not our lists, they're not agreed lists, they're the employer's list. So although the document says National Joint Council, it's not a National Joint Council document, it's an employer's document. But regardless of what people think of the work activities listed, there is in this phrase that saying these are non-exhaustive. And what that means is that if agreed, and hopefully it won't be agreed, if it were to be agreed that local employers could at any point, in our view, change people's work activities unilaterally, without negotiation, without agreement. And the view of the Executive Council is unanimously we cannot be accepting contracts effectively on that basis. And that's why we urge people to vote yes to reject those proposals.
Well, Matt, you talk about the work activities. Now, we do refer to a survey that's been undertaken by the union, and we found an extraordinary range of work activities that have been taking place across the UK. In fact, I think in every single FRS across the UK. And just to be clear, these are work activities that are currently outside the role of a firefighter. Now, some are paid. We can give examples of water rescue, where members are getting £550 payment. In another brigade, they're getting £750 payment. And yet in another brigade, they're getting no payment whatsoever. You've termed that a race to the bottom. Is that what you mean in regard to these?
Exactly. I think there's two sides to broadening the role. One is whether we would consider new activities, and the other side, a very important one, is the activities that is already taking place. As you say, in every single fire service across the country, there are FBU members who are being asked to or voluntarily undertaking activities which in our view are not within the role, and therefore in reality they're not being properly paid for. So this strategy, and why we're asking people to vote yes on the second question, is about actually taking control of that, saying if you want to discuss these things, we'll discuss them, but we'll discuss them nationally through the National Joint Council, through negotiation. That is the way by which our members democratically can decide what they find acceptable or not. The current system we've got in place is we're not being consulted, we're not having negotiations, it's being imposed locally through fragmentation and, as I say, local imposition. So that second question is absolutely central to getting a grip, having a say, having control, having democratic control over what activities our members are or are not required to undertake.
And that is how you would say that to members that are out there who might ask the question in regard to question 2. Aren't we just going along the same path? Hasn't it resulted in this proposal which is unacceptable? You would say no, we've got to carry on for those reasons.
I'd say we've got to carry on to try and take that control back, take control of negotiations, do it through nationally, through the National Joint Council. That provides the best protection for our FBU officials at local level and FBU members at local level, where we've got clear national agreements to say what is and is not required of members and what they're being paid for. And for us also to make the case through that to say, actually, if you require us to do these things, which we might agree to, what's the pay rise that's coming with it?
OK, Matt, now on to pay. I mean, there's figures within the employer's proposal. Now, you have condemned these figures. In fact, you've called them almost illusionary. Tell us why you've said that.
Well, there was a debate at the Executive Council. Some people felt that some members might find those figures attractive. Others thought that members would dismiss them. In a way, that's secondary, because members need to realise this is not a real pay proposal. Nobody is saying if you vote yes, you will get this money, because there's no guarantee that anyone will get this money, because within the employer's proposal, there is a requirement that additional funding is needed to pay for the pay rise that they suggest they would want to make. In other words, government funding is needed, and if government funding is not forthcoming, there is no pay rise. So we agree with the employers that government funding is needed, but the pay rise currently is a hypothetical, illusory, as you say, pay rise, because the figures are not real figures.
OK, Matt, well, this ballot's now going out. There's going to be over 30,000 members of the Fire Brigade Union are going to be looking at this in the comfort of their own homes. They'll be studying the questions. We're asking them to vote yes, yes in support of the union's position. Just finally, what's the last thing you would say to them when they consider this?
Well, the Executive Council decided that the most democratic thing to do was to consult members, so it's a democratic decision to involve our members. Secondly, the questions are based on the union's policies, so the union's policies aren't determined by me or the Executive Council, they're agreed by our conference. That's the democratic decision-making process within the Fire Brigade Union. To test that, we're now asking our members to support their union in building a campaign to defend our service, to demand decent pay, to demand investments off government into our service. And the Executive Council's assessment is the best way of doing that is through supporting this campaign and through voting yes, firstly participating in the ballot, making sure people vote, and secondly to vote yes and yes in that ballot.
Matt, thanks. Well, look, for more detailed updates in regard to this, you can go to our specific web page, and that's available on our website at www.fbu.org.uk. Just simply click the top banner and you'll be on the website. You can also get immediate updates straight into your inbox, and that's via the union's online journal called Roll Call. Simply scroll to the bottom of the web page and sign up to that. Till next time, thanks, and Matt, thanks very much.